Good Monday morning. First things first, I have a shirt on today, so try and be more professional, I guess. Until tomorrow when it's supposed to be 30 degrees. Expect nothing less from me. But that being said, let's get into it. Let's take a look here what kind of how the markets are setting up after, a pretty calm Globex session and a very awful trading Friday. Friday was just a very poor trading day, which is fine. It's it's the summertime, and I keep trying to mention this over and over again in these lives that you don't have to just trade the market because you got up in the morning. You know what I mean? You don't have to, and that's something a lot of people struggle with, including myself. Is you get in the idea that you have to be a part of the market. And you start forcing trades, and there's just no trades right now. I think they're very far and few between as far as actual good opportunities. So as I'm taking a look here, Friday we did attempt to break above our balance zone. So there was that attempt, and obviously it was stuffed pretty hard, very poor volume, very compressed profile. Although you did have, 4 straight days, 1, 2, 3, 4, where value was building higher. There doesn't seem to be conviction in follow through. There doesn't seem to be any kind of follow through from the market. And again, I'm probably sounding like a broken record. The more we balance up here, when we look back and how this market is traded, the more and more the odds start to favor liquidation break. And when I say liquidation break, I'm not saying a sell off. I'm not saying the market's going to sell off. I'm simply saying you're going to potentially see something like this, that we had in the middle to end of July for a possible buy opportunity. Because think of how the psychology of the group is working right now, right? All the traders around the world are thinking every time this happens, this is my buy opportunity, gets up here, I can take my profit. Now, what are they doing, right? They're not chasing the market higher. They're not chasing price higher. They're waiting for another liquidation break to jump all in on the buy side and have an aggressive move back to the upside. So when I'm looking at this, I believe the odds truly do favor, a smaller correction. I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I think we're pretty strong at buying, the 21 day, probably the first time. And if it gets a little bit deeper, the 50 day, which has clearly worked as the trampoline for, a long time here. So as I'm watching this, I am leaning towards potential liquidation this morning. The only thing that kind of puts a screw in that for me is how the profiles are building. So, this potentially could have been a 45-degree line. And the reason I say it potentially could have been, because obviously you're getting selling below the point of control in the Globex session. The only thing that changes that, the only thing that puts a wrinkle in that is what happened in I period. So all these initial shorts who were selling at poor prices already got blown out once, right? And since then, it's really just been back and forth around the point of control. I still think, and I do believe that Friday's high is your level. I think as long as the market stays below Friday's high early in the market session, or if it does get above just barely, I think that the odds just continually increase for a potential liquidation break, especially when you start to get a lot of poor references. And I talk about this from time to time where I'm not a huge poor high or weak high fan or vice versa, the lows. As far as intraday goes, and long as far as if it doesn't fit the context, I don't really care. And the context for me right now is we've been in balance for 9-10 days. We're at the all-time high. The market continually and consistently sells off from balance at the all-time highs. It's how the market is flowing right now. So one of the clues I look for, and one of the ideas that I'm taking into each and every day, is looking for poor references above or near the balance area high that we're currently in. Poor highs, poor lows, they reference weakness in the market, right? Very mechanical levels, selling from very mechanical levels, in this case from poor highs. But what that also is telling us is if it's selling from a poor high, the buyers are just as bad as the sellers. The sellers are able to stop them at mechanical levels like that. It means the buyers themselves are kind of running out of juice, right? So that's how I'm taking what happened Friday with our poor highs on multiple occasions, your GH high, your IJ high, your MN high, so on and so forth, as being, a potential early clue of buyers starting to fade out and not chasing the market higher. And again, increasing the odds for a potential liquidation in the ES. Now, taking a look at RTY. So RTY I still think is looking all right. I still think RTY is trading very naturally as far as how it is in the balance range. RTY, we've talked about it being, very tough for the buyers to break above the 21-day, and then especially right now, break above the 50-day. So now the sellers have held that 50-day moving average 4 straight times, right? 4 times they've come up here, 4 times they've been sold back. Now we're looking for what I would consider to be a natural rotation, which is the market broke above what was resistance at the 21-day. Now they're pulling back towards your 21-day moving average, and they're looking to find support. So they're taking resistance. They blew the resistance out. They made them all cover. Now they're pulling it back into what was resistance and trying to retake that as support. Now, if they can retake that as support, we should do what, right? Get right back up to that 50, give it another shot and see if we can get through. Now, if we get through the 50, the 2285 area is your next target on the upside to find resistance. So for me, I'm sitting in the same camp. As long as they keep this market above 2160, I think the ultimate target is 2320. And that's what I am looking for on RTY, is to position myself accordingly for that move to 2320. I don't see a ton of weakness in RTY. I think some people are. And everybody sees the market differently. But from my standpoint, I think the market is trading, how it should in a balance range. It's finding balance inside balance. And I think from there, it has the potential to actually continue higher. So RTY would be, a good example of a potential 45 building. Again, the I period jam. Obviously, there was some sort of event that happened in Globex, or really the sellers just finally gave up. But that would be your kind of wrench in that process, right? Thinking that's a 45, all this selling below the point of control, you have to take into account that the early selling up until K period has already been taken out of the market. Now you just have this selling here, which is that really enough to really blow this market up? I'm not sold on it. I'm not super sure of that. But more importantly, what I am interested in is how we hold 2026, 25 areas, somewhere around there, which is a level that we have already been monitoring, but it's also in and around where the 21-day moving average is sitting. And then likewise, we've talked about 2244 a lot in RTY, and the fact that RTY just cannot seem to find a bid above that 2244. Now, keep in mind, your 50-day moving average has been sitting just above that 44 level multiple times, but each time we seem to get above this 2244 level, we're seeing similar activity to what we're seeing in ES as far as buyers really, really struggle to get going, and they look like they're going to make a push, and next thing you know, they get sold back down. So what needs to change in order for RTY to rally back to the 50 and, get through it is you need to find a better bid above 2240. So what I'll be looking for is us not just breaking above 2244. I want to see us pull back towards it. I want to see us hold it. I want to see us take it and recover it as support. At which point, then we can look up here to this 2284, 85 area as the next target on this upside potential move. If we are to break down, they need to break through the 21-day, and we all know what we'll be watching after that. 02, 2210, great structural level that we've had for quite some time now, and it continues to work as a great swing location. So that would be your downside target for any downside move. So that's where I'm at with RTY. Do I think it's tradable as far as day time frame today? I do. I think all the markets are tradable against Friday's high on the short side. And if it breaks Friday's high, you're going to lose and you'll be on the wrong side. Welcome to trading. That's what it is. Take what you can, live with your results, okay? Now taking a look at NQ here. NQ, time and time again, we've talked about this upper trend and how they just, NQ can't blow away from it. Again, they couldn't blow away from it Friday. You get that pullback in Globex last night, which pulled you back somewhere in that location. Now, I had some buys put out in the Globex session, which obviously never got filled because it didn't quite get down as far as I was hoping. But similar idea, I would rather be a buyer of NQ and maybe not off this trend line, maybe off the 20 trend line because it's kind of lining up. But more importantly, somewhere down on that lower purple trend line. Now, if NQ is to go higher on the day time frame and really try and break away from here, then I get a little bit more interested on the short side because then I think the market has how it's been trading has a tendency to fall back towards that level. So that's what I'll be watching on the day time frame of NQ. Now, when we're looking at the profiles of NQ, nothing's changed. It's still trading within ranges that we're looking for. It's still being very mechanical in nature. We've had these structural levels over here on our day time frame, profile for quite some time. And what is it? Well, what was resistance? What was resistance? What was resistance? You know, they found support down here at the 5,000 number, but they pushed right back into resistance. What can NQ not do, right? And we've talked about this many times, is what can NQ not do? NQ cannot seem to find a big boy bid above your 24 level. And you from 116 to 126, it really, really struggles to get going. Remember, we had that opportunity last week, Thursday, and they kind of just threw it away. They just didn't have, you know, the juice in them. They found balance. Next thing you know, we liquidate back below it. And then Friday, of course, we know what happened there. That really came in as resistance. And again, you're seeing it in the Globex session. So unless NQ can get above 126, I'm telling you right now, I will be fading NQ against Friday's high. I think it is the most optimal market to trade coming into today. I also think that, you know, this recovery rally was a lot more aggressive than the other markets that we look at. And for that being, you know, I am perfectly okay selling against Friday's high, which lines up with Thursday's point of control and the lower value area of this Globex session. And the reason for that is if it gets above there, guess what? I'm wrong. I can get out. I can take my loss. My risk is predefined. And that is exactly the type of trade I am looking for. One where I don't have to think too much about it. I know where I'm right. I know where I'm wrong. And I can just put the trade on and see how it works. So that being said, that's really all I wanted to go over. The Dow, as always, the Dow 820, 840 is an area that I've been monitoring for some time. Same idea, just monitoring that. Obviously, the Dow has a gap that we are looking to fill as well. So we'll see. I don't think the Dow is very tradable today unless it gets somewhere closer to that 820, 840 area. So we probably won't even touch that. We'll get into that tomorrow if we have some change. So that being said, you know, thanks for jumping on. Again, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I'm overwhelmed with the support. You know, the more subscribers that I get, obviously I'll release more and more stuff. I have tons and tons of, you know, educational material I've done over the years here. But yeah, trade well, trade safe, trade your plan, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.